Hey everybody, Ted here with Stuff You Might Like, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Sigma 70-200 f2.8 DG OS HSM Sports lens. Now, this lens is the Nikon F variant, and it is attached here to the Nikon Z camera. I'm going to run down my impressions of this lens. I've used it in a couple of different settings over the last couple of months, and I'm just going to run down what this lens offers. First of all, if you're looking for a 70-200 lens for your Nikon, either F mount camera or a Z mount if you have the adapter, you can't go wrong with this lens. It is about $1,300, and it is significantly cheaper than most of the other options. Nikon makes an f4 variant that costs about $1,400, and this is $100 less than that. Nikon also makes a f2.8 version, which currently sells for $2,800. Now, there is going to be a native Z 70-200 f2.8 coming out in a few weeks. That lens is going to retail for about $2,600. So this is about half of what that lens will cost. Now, what do you get for that extra $1,300 that you don't get with this? Well, the Nikon version, or the Z version of this lens, is about a pound lighter, so significantly lighter, and you obviously get a native Z mount, and you get the buttons that allow you to adjust the aperture with the ring, and so on, and plus you get a native Nikon lens. But this lens offers quite a bit. So as I said, it is an f2.8. It does have image stabilization, which is supposed to give you about 5 stops. I've used it with the Nikon Z, and with the in-body image stabilization, I was able to get 5 stops of stabilization hand-holding, so that's to be expected. It is a little bit heavier, as I said, than the Nikon Z version. It's about 9/10 of a pound heavier than the current shipping version. It is a good twice the weight, over 2 pounds heavier than the Nikon F4 version. So if you're looking to save weight, and weight is of paramount importance to you, the Nikon F4 is probably the one to go with. It is significantly lighter than this, or even the Nikon F2.8. So that's to be expected for the difference in optics. Now, there's also a Tamron version of the 70-200 f2.8, and that is significantly lighter too. It's a few bucks more. It's about $30 more, or actually $40 more at the moment. And I didn't have that one to test, but the Sigma has some really, really good optics. And I'll show you as we look at some pictures how sharp this lens is and how it performs in a concert situation and in a photo shoot. So let's take a look at the pictures and see what they look like. Okay. So let's take a look at some photos from the Sigma 70-200 f2.8 Sport, and we'll start with some images of the obligatory brick wall to judge sharpness from the center out to the corners. And I took images at the widest end, 70 millimeters, and the longest end, 200 millimeters. So let's start by looking at 70 millimeters at f2.8. And you'll see here in the center, things are very sharp, look good. And out in the corners here, they start to get a bit softer, but not bad, not bad, not bad at all. So we'll come to the next one. This is at f4. You see at f4, it starts to get a bit sharper at the corners. Center is still very sharp. And here we are at f5.6. By the time we get to 5.6, the corners are pretty much as sharp as the center, and sharpness isn't really a concern. Come here, we're at f8. f8, things are very sharp at both the corners and the center. And here we go up to f11. See here in the corners, pretty sharp. So really, when you're shooting at f2.8 at the wide end, you can expect sharpness in the center, and the corners start to get sharper really at about f5.6 and up. f8 seems to be the most optimal sharpness for the corners at the wide end. And let's come over and look at the tele end. That's at 110. Okay, so here we are at 200 millimeters, and we are at f2.8. You'll see here, center very sharp. The outer edge is a little soft. We're going to go to the next one, which is f4. Oops. Now we're at f5.6. Still less sharp in the corners than the center. f8, again, this seems to be the sweet spot for this lens. When you get to f8, you're pretty sharp throughout the entire frame. Here we are at f11, f16. f16, you're still very, very sharp throughout the frame. And f22, you're starting to run into a bit of diffraction. So that is the obligatory brick wall, but let's look at some actual images. I've got some images here that I took with this lens when I was at Epcot last fall, and these are all handheld, and these are all straight out of camera JPEGs. I shot mostly in black and white because I like shooting black and white for concerts. I think it gives it a good feel, and especially when you've got a lot of distracting lights, you really get down to the essence of the photo, just being the light and dark and the contrast between the two. So here we have the Hooters as they were at Epcot in early November, and here's a picture of John Lilly, and this was shot at 1/400th of a second at f2.8, and the ISO was 5600, and this was on the Nikon Z6. I brought the Z6 to this concert instead of the Z7 because I was taking some video footage as well. So if we zoom in here, you'll see very sharp in the center, very good contrast. Very happy with this lens for shooting concert images. Even with the FTZ adapter, it is still quick to focus. So you'll see that in the center of this image where the subject is, everything is very sharp. This was very quick to focus on the Nikon Z6 with the FTZ adapter. I was using iFocus for a good chunk of the night, and at the location that I was set up to take photographs, most of the time it was too far to actually lock onto the eye. There were a few times when the subjects would come closer, the people in the band would get closer, and I could pick up eye focus, but for most of the night, the distance I was to the subjects, I was getting face detect, but not eye focus. So I suspect that at this one, this was actually face detect. I don't think I got eye focus here. And here's one of Rob, and this was at 1/400th of a second at f2.8, ISO 1600. You see here we got a bit of backlight on him, and again, he's pretty close to the center of the frame and pretty sharp. Here's another one of Rob Lilly, very sharp center. And Eric Bazillion, looking ever so dapper and mad scientist like. Look at that cording there. That's some phenomenal stuff. I think he was in the middle of a solo actually. But as you can see in the center of the frame, very, very sharp. Okay, so here are a few portrait shots I did at a session around Christmas time, and these were with using the Z7 instead of the Z6, and of course the same Sigma 70-200 f2.8 sport lens. These were taken, this set here was taken without flash, and they were at f2.8 to get some nice blurring of the background, and varying different focal lengths, but this one's at 82 millimeters, so a little more at the wider end, nice and sharp in the center. This one's at 78 millimeters. Here at 75 millimeters. And this one is at 100 millimeters. So the lens itself has its zoom ring on the end of the lens, and it has its focus ring on the inside of the lens. And the focus ring is sort of obscured a little bit by the foot for the collar, or the tripod collar, or the tripod mount. So if you're someone who is going to be using manual focus, you may find that the tripod mount gets in the way of that. Chances are, though, you'll probably be using this in autofocus, and you won't really run into that problem. I am someone who prefers that the zoom ring be at the end of the lens instead of on the inside of the lens, but that's just me. Your mileage may vary. So the tripod collar is fixed, but it does rotate, so you can unscrew it here and you can turn it almost 360. Well, you can turn it 360 degrees in either direction, which is nice. So who is this lens for? Well, if you're a Nikon shooter or a Canon shooter, this lens is available for Nikon and Canon mounts. And you don't want to spend $2,700 for a 70-200 f2.8 lens. This is a great choice. The only person I would say should avoid this is anyone who doesn't feel like holding 4 pounds plus the weight of the body for a few hours if they're going to use it for a good bit. It does have an Arca Swiss compatible foot on its collar mount here, and you can use this on a tripod, and that will obviously take a good bit of the weight off. For sport shooting, this is a great choice. For concert shooting, this is an excellent choice. And for portraits, it is an excellent choice as well. So those are my thoughts on this lens. Okay, one of the final tests we want to pull on this lens is the credit card test. How bad is your credit card going to cry when you charge this lens to it? So let's take a look. So hey, credit card, I'm gonna buy a new Sigma 70-200 lens. What do you think about that? How much is that gonna cost me? About $1,250. Okay, that's not too bad. I can handle that. There you go. The credit card approves. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, please click the thumbs up icon. And if you haven't already, please click the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notifications when new videos appear. And I'll see you in the next one.